Hey Javier.
Hey Austin, how are you?
Good, good.
Yeah.
So today we'll be talking about Hal9. Could you tell me what is Hal9?
Yeah, so Hal9 is a low-code platform to really try to help anyone get into artificial intelligence.
That sounds super cool. How does Hal9 work?
Well, so we have this concept of a pipeline, which is basically a set of steps. So, you build these building blocks, you put them together, and that's how you do data analysis.
Oh, okay. How do you build a pipeline?
Yeah, so you drag and drop the blocks, right? Which is how you put them together. But the interesting thing is that you can also change the properties. So each block has, different colors for visualizations or different sources or why not. And that's how you customize the pipeline.
Okay. How is Hal9 different from other things that are available right now?
Yeah, so we actually built HAL9 on top of open source and web technologies. So that gives us two different advantages, right? So the first one is that it allows you to very easily integrate with web development projects, makes it super easy. You can actually embed HAL9 pipelines directly in a website, even if it's a static HTML page. And the other one is it actually allows you to export the code and also customize it. So, since you have access to the code blocks, you're really never stuck with HAL9.
Amazing. When should I use Hal9?
Yeah, well, HAL9 is very useful when you are working on a web development project, and especially if there's data scientists and web developers involved in this project, HAL9 can really help you collaborate and help you deploy those applications very easily.
Oh, that sounds great. It looks like I'm all ready to get started. Where could I learn more about Hal9?
Sure, yeah, I think you should head out to hal9.com. We have a lot of examples there that we've built, but we're also super excited to see what the community comes up with. And in addition, you can go to GitHub, you can contact us in Twitter, and in general, we're super excited to connect with you, so shoot us an email.
Amazing. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks. All right, hi everyone. Thanks for joining this live stream event. Sorry about the technical difficulties that we had a few moments ago. We had to change the stream URL. But we're here, and we're really excited to showcase to you what we've been building, which is HAL9. And for that, I'm going to introduce first the entire team. Part of the team that is joining us online. We have a couple demos that we're doing for you. We are also going to talk about how you can get your, actual usernames. And, we're going to close with Q&A for those that were able to join the stream. And again, we apologize for getting ready this stream. So yeah, my name is Javier Lubrowski. I'm the founder of Hal9. You can check out Hal9 at hal9.com. And we've been working on this for a while. It has been almost a year that we've been building a product to help us do data analysis and data analytics on the web. And yeah, we're excited to talk about it. I'm going to add a couple. I'm going to also add Austin. And as people join in, we'll add them to the stream. So hi, Austin. Good to have you. Yeah, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Austin Matzel. I'm helping out with marketing with Hal9. I joined, 4 or 5 months ago. It's just been really fascinating to see how Hal9's beta is getting launched and all the different uses that can come out of this, different opportunities. And I'm just super excited to be part of the team, be working with Javier. Anchi and Kevin are joining. This is a wonderful team. I love it.
Yeah, no, we're super happy to have you here, obviously. Austin, you did a bunch of work on getting us ready and, with this live streaming with a bunch of marketing stuff. So super happy to have you here. You want to go next, Anshit? And thanks for being here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Anshit Sudhana. I've been working at Hal9, mostly helping out with data science. Like Austin, I joined about 4 or 5 months ago. It's been super exciting working on this team.
Cool. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I mean, we're going to talk in a second about how to do stuff with Hal9. And, one of the big features that Anshit you work on was kind of like integrating Arquero.js, which we'll explain what that is. And, it really allows us to kind of expand Hal9 to many, many bigger data sets, up to millions of rows and beyond. So that's super cool. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, guys. Kevin Kuo, CTO. I work primarily on the roadmap for the machine learning features that we'll be seeing in Hal9 soon. And I've been working with Javier for a while.
Yeah, no, I mean, it has been super, super useful. And I should say that not everyone is on the stream. So we have Natalia and a few others that are not joining. So but they're on the chat. You can ask them questions. And I should say, like, for those that are live, if you have any questions, comments or whatever, please write them down. I think either Austin or Kevin or Anshit will interrupt me, and we can. Well, actually, the plan is just to get back to Q&A in like 20 minutes after we kind of like I walk you through the demo of the product. So yeah, like hope you enjoyed this. Pose your questions, and then we'll get back to just take them together and just discuss a few more things as a team. I'm gonna, so I'm gonna kind of like, give you a walkthrough for this product. And I think for now, I'm gonna kick everyone out if that's okay, right? So let me just remove you all. And so this is Hal9, and it's, as you can see, it's like a brand new page. If you were users of the alpha release, it looks very different. A lot of work got put into the user interface. And what you can see here is that the first thing that you arrive to is you arrive to a gallery of different, data analytics, data visualizations that we've created as a team. But we're super excited to see what you actually create. And obviously, this is a whole new platform, and there's a learning curve, very small learning curve. But what I would recommend you that you take a look at is the getting started. So we have a few projects that we consider them featured that is worth taking a look at. So if you're new to Hal9, which I mean at this point basically everyone is new at Hal9, please head out to the getting started page. So basically on the getting started page, you can see a document, right? So this is a document that kind of like describes how you can use Hal9. But the really cool thing about Hal9 is that these are living documents, right? Like you can actually modify them. There's code behind them. There's parameters, and we'll talk all about that. But so what you get is a document. In this case, like our getting started document. We recorded a video for you where Austin presents again what is Hal9. So definitely take a look at that. I think it's a very short video that you can share on social media or whatever. And let's just talk a little bit about what Hal9 is, right? And I think this is kind of like important. So before we talk about Hal9 is what was the motivation behind creating Hal9? And so many of us, like Kevin, Anshit, myself, have worked on machine learning projects, data science projects, artificial intelligence projects. And we found out that actually to get started with artificial intelligence or even simpler data science projects, like you really have like a huge learning curve for new users. And even if you're an expert, it really takes you a really long period of time to set up simple things, right? If you're familiar with Python, you probably know that you need to fight off virtual env and packages versions, Python 2 versus Python 3. And it really, those are tasks that are not complicated on its own, but they make you waste a lot of time. And that's just one part of, machine learning, right? Like if you look at, okay, like how, once you do like some, data analysis in some of these libraries and programming languages, if you want to actually share that on the web, or if you want to make an API out of that, like that's a whole huge different problem, right? And then you use tools like, like MLflow or, cloud providers to deploy that application. And it really takes a lot of time that we felt that, it shouldn't really be that way, right? Like there should be a simpler way of doing data science, visualization projects, AI projects. And that was really the motivation for Hal9 is like, how can we simplify the process that already exists into something that is much simpler, that many more people can jump into and can learn very easily. And for that, the concept that we borrowed from machine learning is the concept of a pipeline. So a pipeline is literally just a series of steps. You can think of a pipeline either as a prescription or as a recipe of steps that you need to follow in order to analyze your data. So you usually start with importing the data, right? Like you need data from somewhere. It could be like an Excel file. It could be like a table that you find on the web, or why not? Then you usually transform it, like to create aggregates or whatever. And then you create a visualization. And then you can do more advanced stuff like, hey, predict things into the future, and why not? And then you usually want to either make it a document, like this particular document that we have here, or you want to build it into an API, or you want to build it into a full fledged application using something like, like a web framework like Vue.js or React.js. So that's kind of like the goal of Hal9. We want to make it very easy for anyone to build anywhere from simple, data analysis, visualizations, all the way to super complex, very advanced AI solutions. So let's just get our hands dirty and get started with building a little bit, right? So if you look at this document, you'll see that we give you a step-by-step instructions on what to do, right? And the first step is you need to get some data. And actually, let me just explain you a little bit what are the components of Hal9. So the main area is the document area. That's where you see your output. That's where you build your applications, and why not? But the other big component, it's on the top. You have what we call the pipeline. And in this case, we only have one block, which is a Markdown block. You can write blocks in Markdown, in JavaScript, in HTML, in Vue, in React, and even Python and other programming languages, Node.js. So this is the first block. What we usually, the way that you start a project is by importing your data. So click the plus sign, and that's going to give you a library of different blocks that you can reuse and different sources you can import your data from. So in this case, we can choose something very simple. We could use Excel file or a JSON file or a CSV file, or why not, or even get data from the web by doing web scraping. But for now, this is just the getting started. We're just going to use a data set. So we have imported a data set, which is called Iris, and it's kind of like a data set that describes different iris flowers. So we have the data here with the different columns, and why not? And we're kind of like on this import step that we discussed, right? Like we're kind of like here, we just imported some data. Now, this is usually looking at data in this format is not very useful, right? It's, it's raw, like it doesn't explain anything. So what you want to do in most data analysis projects is you want to transform it. And one of the very, great ways of transforming data is by summarizing it. So we can say, okay, let's just try to summarize this data. And by default, we're going to count the number of rows, which, it's a small data set. There's 150 rows. But let's just do something else. Let's just, group the data by species. So now we know that over each category, we have about 50 rows. And then instead of doing that, we could say, okay, like let's just give me the, let's just say the sepal length and the sepal width, count of rows of each of them, and let's just change it to the average, right? So now we have something a little bit more interesting. We've grouped by a category, and we actually have calculated the average. All right, so, again, if we look back at where we're at in this stage of building a pipeline, we have imported our data, we have transformed it. Usually the next step is let's just visualize it and see how this looks like. So for that, you do the same steps. You click plus, and then you find a visualization that you like. So in this case, let's just start with something very simple, a bar chart. And then we're going to select in the x-axis, we want the species. And on the y-axis, we want either the sepal length, and then just also add the sepal width. And that's it. I mean, in very few clicks, I guess, like a couple clicks here and there, we've actually created a pretty reasonable visualization that, you can use. You can actually export it as a PNG file, or you can also share it in Hal9. Now, up to this point, there's a lot of tools that do something similar in one degree or another one, right? Like you can build some data visualizations, you can do some transformations. So why is Hal9 different? And it's really different for two reasons. So first of all, we're building everything on web technologies, and we're making it web ready first. So you can export this visualization and embed it. You can also export the live code and put it on your website. It's very, very compatible with all web technologies and standards. And the other great thing about Hal9, and I think it's the most powerful feature, is that we build this on with an open core model. So basically, we have a GitHub project that you can navigate to, github.com/hal9ai/hal9ai, and you can look at the sources of our engine, and you can look at the sources of the blocks. And not even that, but you can also modify the block. So in this case, we have all the code behind this particular block. But if you were to click the summarize block, you also have access to those sources. So the great thing about this is that you're never locked with what we can provide to you as a data scientist, as a user, as a data visualization expert. You can modify all the functionality that is behind Hal9, with with a very easy to use interface, and then extend it. And not only that, but you can actually parameterize the parameters. I know that sounds a little bit meta, but you can actually parameterize the parameters in your code to add more parameters, remove them, and really create a library of very reusable components that are very easy to customize by users that are perhaps not as advanced as you. Anything from changing colors, right, to making a couple of things that are more complex. All right, so this was a pretty simple kind of like way of taking a look at at this particular solution, right? It's just really to get you started. So I don't expect you to be super excited about the functionality yet, although it's pretty cool. So next, what I want to do is I want to show you how to do an analysis that is a little bit more complex, right? Like I want to show you how to analyze data that comes from Wall Street bets, and particularly we are interested in, say, understanding what's GameStop's post. How do they differ from other types of posting Wall Street bets, right? So let's just go ahead and start from scratch. So we're gonna say we want to start a new pipeline. And honestly, once you're a little bit more familiar with Hal9, you will probably want to start from scratch, right? So you start on a blank canvas. There's absolutely nothing, and you kind of like figure out what you want to create. So in this case, we already did a little bit of pre-work for this live stream. So we're gonna start with a pipeline that already has the data. And just to give you some context, we got all this data from Kaggle, which is kind of like a machine learning competition site. And what this data contains is a lot of the titles and a lot of the comments available in the Wall Street Bets Reddit group, right? So so we already have the data, and we actually already filter it to the top posts with the most upvotes in this particular site. So the first thing that we want to do is, here we have a bunch of titles, right? I mean, actually, here is one already about GME, Infinity War, etc. And but we don't know. This data set does not contain. It doesn't tell you what are the posts that were related to GameStop and which are the ones that were not, right? So, but again, like this is a real life data set that you can analyze, and we can follow the same pattern that we used on the previous example, right? We're gonna say, hey, let's just analyze this with a transformation, right? We want to know if something is related with GameStop or not. And for that, we can do something very easy. We can add a new column, and adding a new column in Hal9 is called derive, which we borrow from a library called Arcaro.js. And basically, we want to create a new column. That's it. So we're going to name this column stock. And then we're going to type here kind of like an expression that says, hey, if the string includes GME, then let's just assume that this post is about GameStop. And if it doesn't, it's about something else, right? So now we have our new column, that basically categorizes if something is a GameStop or not. That's pretty simple. Now, again, we have the transformation, but we should visualize this, right? So for that, we can go to our very reliable scatter plot that you can open from our gallery, and again choose that from. And again, just if you want to take a look here, there's over a dozen different visualizations that you can use from. But we're going to start with the scatter plot, and then we're going to say, all right, let's just use the score as the x-axis, and the number of comments in the y-axis. And we're going to choose the color, which should be here, as a way of figuring out how is it different when we post about GameStop versus other posts, right? And if you look at this chart, honestly, there's not that much difference. Maybe, I mean, if you try to understand it here, you can see that mostly there seem to be two types of posts in Wall Street Bets, right? One with a lot of comments and one with a lot of with very little comments, right? And at least from this chart, right? And you can still get a lot of comments, in kind of like one class of posts, but not the other ones. All right, maybe there's something interesting here, maybe not. Now, what we really what would really be cool to do here would be to add to use some predictive modeling to actually understand a little bit deeper what type of things are getting talked in this Reddit group, right? So one of the really cool things that you can do with Hal9 is we have blocks that are ready for machine learning or AI. We call them prediction blocks. And you can do things like regressions, you can do image classification, you can do sentiment analysis, you can do time series prediction, even pose estimation on images and why not. So in this particular case, what would be really useful to use is sentiment analysis, right? Like it would be really nice to know if a post it's either positive or negative. So what we can do here is, all right, so we have a title, and we're gonna add the title as a way and ask Hal9 to classify if it's a positive comment or a negative comment. And as you can see here, all you have to do is literally just add that string-based column. And here now you can say, okay, like, for instance, this one is classified as a positive sentiment for the title. This one over here is considered not positive, right? And we can argue, sorry, I'm not gonna say this in the stream because it's definitely negative. Anyways, so this is the sentiment, right? Like it's we already have the sentiment for all the GameStop posts that are available on this data set. So the next thing that we can do is like, okay, let's just go back and add another chart, right? And in this case, we can go ahead and add another scatter plot. And but now we can do something way more interesting. Rather than just counting stuff, we can actually use the sentiment, right? Like that prediction between 0 and 1 that tells us whether something is positive or not. And then we can take a look at the number of upvotes. And this to me is actually super interesting, right? Like, so you have the sentiment on the bottom of this chart. It goes from negative to positive. And then you have the number of upvotes. And you can see here almost that there's like two clusters, right? Like if the sentiment is really bad, things get upvoted. Or if the sentiment is very positive, there also seem to be more upvotes there, right? And that kind of makes sense, right? Like we know that social media tends to be very polarizing anyways, but it doesn't explain anything about GameStop yet. So let's just add, as the color, we'll add the stock, which either GameStop posts that are either, like on orange, right? And the ones on blue are, unrelated, right? Or other types of posts in Reddit. And again, like there's nothing super interesting here, right? They seem similar, not a strong pattern. But one of the things that we can also do is let's just add the number of comments as the size of the bubble, right? And we can do that pretty easy by selecting number of comments. And this actually starts to get interesting, I think. So first of all, like there's some difference. Like if we look at the GME posts, which are the blue ones, even for the ones that have negative sentiment, right? Like on the left side, even those that have negative sentiment have a lot of comments, right? Which means that maybe people are getting more engaged when they're discussing GameStop, right? In Wall Street Bets, maybe they're defending it, or why not? So there's definitely a difference there. People seem to be more engaged in Reddit when the sentiment of the post is negative. There's potential discussions, and why not? And honestly, this is what data analysis is about. It's about kind of like exploring, creating hypotheses, and using data and visualizations to understand better what you're dealing with, right? And you can apply this to many different topics. Many of you I know that are data scientists, and why not? And again, coming back to Hal9 is like, wait, when do I use Hal9? And even in this case, right? So if you think about other tools and things that are available out there, one thing that bothers me in this particular chart is that we don't know if the bubbles are obfuscating, right? If they're if they're hiding other bigger bubbles on, perhaps from the other steps, right? So, one of the things that you can do is you can look at the script and say, okay, like I wish I could change the transparency of the bubbles just to get a better sense of how that looks like. And the cool thing is that you can really just hop in and change. In this case, it's the opacity of this plot. And you can change it to say 0.3. And whenever you're changing code, you can either do Command Enter, or you can hit refresh. Either way works pretty well. And yeah, sure enough, like there's seems to be correct. Like we do have our visualization, and as you can see here, there's no other bigger bubbles being hidden by the blue ones, right? So definitely, one of the advantages of using Hal9 is that you can do point and click, drag and drop analysis really fast, but you're not stuck just with what the tool provides. You can create new blocks. You can modify them. You can also export them as pure HTML and JavaScript, and maintain them outside of Hal9 if that's what you need for your project. All right, so let me just close on this. I think we're doing okay on time, and again, I apologize for starting the stream a little bit later. But yeah, so one of the things that I want to do next is just give you like an overview of the product functionality. So as I mentioned, like this is really the main layout that you will find yourself working most of the time with. You have the parameters on the right side, you have the pipeline on the top, you have the gallery when you hit the plus sign. We haven't even started kind of like explaining like all the functionality that we have there. One of the things that I really love doing is creating applications on top of data. So if you know a little bit of React or Vue.js, you can also connect those frameworks. Or if you're a Python user or say an R user or whatever, and you want, there's something that you know how to do in R, you can also kind of like use those blocks. So we have that. There's a couple other really cool things like if you need to do web scraping, you can use a web table block or a web images block to extract that data. And there's definitely a lot of functionality on visualization, data transformations. But I'm most excited about this is that you can the community can build more blocks, can build data analysis on their own, and why not? And it's not a static product. It just changes to whatever needs you have and what the community needs. All right, so if you go to the gallery, this is what we would have. It's basically, we talk a little bit about it. Now, it's pretty cool is that you can also log in. And actually, I would encourage all of you to do this, log in. You can either use your Google authentication or just username and password or your GitHub account. And you can log in to basically Hal9. And the functionality that you get when you log into Hal9, and here, let's just quick create another visualization. This one, we have a little bit of data, population data, and let's just group by country, something very simple. And let's just do a bubble chart or a bar chart. It's fine. Let's just do that. Okay, so now I have, I change the colors. All right, so now I have an actual, quick data analysis. If you are logged in, one of the features that you'll see is that you can actually not just export it. I mean, you can always export a pipeline as, to work with it locally as a JSON file, or you can also export something as an image. So that also tends to be useful. You get a PNG file of that particular, visualization. But if you're logged in, you can also save directly online in Hal9. So here I can say, let's just call it, quick, or let's just call it quick bar chart. And I call it here my first bar chart, just a bar chart. And yeah, so you can make this public. You can make it private. If you make it public, then we'll give you a URL that you can share with people. If you make it private, well, it's just going to stay private in your gallery. So for now, I'm just going to make it private. Notice that the URL changed. And then when you go back to Hal9, you can see it on your pipelines that you can then modify and continue working on, and why not? So that's kind of like quite useful, and definitely some functionality that is probably worth using. Exporting and importing, it's also quite useful. Writing blocks. One of the things that I was mentioning is like, you can write things on different frameworks, and why not? So definitely feel free to try that out. Regarding plans, currently, basically, everything that you do on the client side is it's completely free, and it's going to stay free for as long as we can tell. But if you have to use data server side computation that does incur a cost, you can go to plans, and there's a few different plans that we've kind of like put together if you need that functionality. So that's, I think, where I'm going to stop. Definitely, try. I would encourage you to try many of the different data transformations and visualizations that we've created. Some of them are super interested. This one uses TensorFlow to actually do the prediction, and why not? But now what I want to do is I'm going to bring everyone back to this chat, and we can just see if there's any questions, or maybe we want to add comments or discuss something in particular. Hi again, everyone. I haven't been tracking the YouTube comments. I don't know if anyone posted anything.
Yeah, we have a couple of questions that we can go over.
And we can address them for sure.
Yeah, I'd say the first one to kind of look at would be who would you want our target user to be if we were to have a target user? And this is in alignment with that, also working out how Hal9's mission is to democratize AI. And in a sense, we do want almost anyone to be in the space of Hal9, be able to work with pipelines. But if there was a target user right now, who do you think that would be, Javier?
Yeah, for sure. So I think really where Hal9 currently shines, because we have like a really ambitious goal of, letting kind of like anyone do a little bit of machine learning, artificial intelligence. But like if you look at the current functionality right now, if you're a data scientist or a web developer that is working either as a data scientist, if you're a data scientist that is doing a lot of front end data science, right? Like if you're building a lot of interactive visualizations, if you already have to deploy your data analysis to the web, Hal9 is a really good tool because it really allows you to have the best of both worlds of doing, still getting data and doing data transformations, and even use things like Python. But also, like if you have to customize that visualization and make it interactive, and if you're already working with a web developer that needs to integrate your data into the website, and like you want to do predictive modeling directly online and things like that, like that's a really good use case for Hal9, right? Like so think. Machine learning plus web development, that's like a great place to be. If you're a web developer and you're in a project that requires data transformations, data visualizations, like Hal9 can also help you there. But definitely look for projects where you have both, the data science, the AI part, and you also have like the web development component. And whenever you need to put those two together, either through APIs or by embedding, data science workflows, and why not, that we feel like it's like a really good area for Hal9, right? Think data science or machine learning or AI with web technologies.
Mm-hmm. Another question we had come in is, what would make Hal9 different from competitors such as Tableau?
Right. Yeah, and I think we covered that question a little bit. If you look, we're all focused on open source, right? And one of the things that you can do is, literally modify all the code and take the code out from Hal9, which is it might be the right decision in some cases, right? So when you look at other tools, like first of all, like we have a free to use tier, and you can always extend this functionality, right, in different programming languages, Python, JavaScript, Node.js, or whatever. So that's really powerful. And the other piece is that we're really focused on predictive modeling. It's kind of like quite harder to get Tableau to build models either on Python or on tools like TensorFlow.js or why not. So even though right now we don't have a ton of them, we have just 5 in our gallery. We see ourselves creating more predictive models, which I'm sure there is a way of doing it in other tools, but we want to be one of the places where like we can come together as a community and build more blocks, right? Like I encourage you to go to the GitHub page, and if there's something that you want to to share with the rest of the community, we can do it, which would be really hard to do in other competitor tools. Yeah.
Yeah. Another question that came through kind of looks at specifically the different coding languages, so R and Python. There's a specific question from Ricardo on what specifically does the show script functionality do, and how would that work with different coding languages such as R and Python?
Yeah, no, for sure. So so the way that would work is it works in a very similar way to the other blocks, right? So for instance, in this case, the blocks that we have right now are pretty basic. I think over time we'll probably add more functionality. But basically, the way these blocks work is, and again, if you wanted to process the same data set in NumPy or whatever, we give you this data set directly in Python. So, like if you were to run this in Hal9, which we just did, basically, like you would have access to the parameters that go into this block, which in this case is the data parameter. So, you could potentially also add other parameters here, and why not? And then you would basically the way the execution model that we have here is we give you the parameters to your Python code or Node.js code or JavaScript code, and then you can do with those parameters and with those data sets whatever you want, right? So in this case, we did something very simple. We just like copy the same data set as input as output, but we can also I'm pretty sure I'm gonna have a typo here because I'm not maybe I'm not. I shouldn't try to do the live coding, but in this case we're just counting the number of records that this data set contains in Python, which is just running the length. So you could potentially build a lot of the data transformation and functionality directly in Python or some other programming language. But again, we're pretty focused on doing development and doing machine learning with web technologies. So we kind of like encourage you and encourage the community to build the blocks in JavaScript, because then that way they run locally. You can embed them and have all these additional benefits. But yeah, they basically work on the same way. We give you the data, we give you the parameters, and you run whatever code you want, right? So it could be as simple or as complex as you want.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. It's very, very accessible, especially for users who are newer to the service or newer to understanding web technologies. But it's also very agile and lightweight. So if you're looking to do things that are complex or working with doing your own code, adjusting that yourself, you have that ability to do so on your browser. I do have another question on the chat as well, looking at data privacy and what our policy is for data privacy, and that includes either paying users or free users.
Yeah, for sure. So actually, one of the great things about Hal9, right, is that so we are focused, again, I mentioned we're focused on web technologies, right? And everything is built on JavaScript, and why not, right? In the backend, not that you need to know, but like one of the really cool things about this is like when you look at all the pipelines that we've created, right? Like and many of them in the free tier, like if you look at, say, like the getting started, or like even more complex things like, say, Bitcoin prediction, right? So the way that this works is all the information is actually getting executed in your browser. Like for all these pipelines that like are on our free tier, no data goes to the server whatsoever at all, unless you explicitly save it, right? So the really cool thing is that we can do a little experiment here, which maybe I shouldn't do live, but if we look at if we try to add a block, right? We just added a block, and if you look at the network traffic that is happening on your browser, nothing is going on, because nothing is going outside of Hal9, right? Like all the data that you're processing, it sticks on your browser, so you don't need to worry about like, like what's what is Hal9 gonna do with my data, like what are the policies or whatever, because we don't touch your data at all as long as you're using like all these freely available blocks, right? The data gets downloaded in the browser, it gets processed. So it's honestly one of the most private and secure components, because your data never really leaves the browser. If you click save, so just a big warning, right? If you click save and you actually make it public, or then in those cases, yes, you're choosing to make the pipeline public, and it will be saved on the Hal9 infrastructure, and other people are going to be able to see it. So obviously don't do that if you're dealing with private information. But one of the things that you can do is you can just say click export the pipeline, and you can save it directly as JSON, right? So whenever you do all these operations, you can leave it there, and then you can say you can import it back, and all these steps that we're doing are actually all locally, right? Like we saved this information, and nothing went out to the web, nothing came back, because we save it locally on our disk, and then we put it back. So it's actually pretty secure. It's actually privacy first. That's one of the big advantages of using technologies like TensorFlow.js. If you build an application, you can also deploy it, and your users can make use of the application without having to run a backend server, right? Backend servers usually are costly, are expensive to maintain, require a different skill set, and they also have the possibility of leaking data, right? So definitely, that's a big advantage of using Hal9 if privacy is something that you're concerned with, because the data doesn't leave the browser.
And that, I would say, probably wraps up most of the questions that we have so far in the stream today. I know Anshi and Kevin are here. Maybe we could look at kind of some of our like individual favorite features on Hal9, or I think another really cool aspect of it on the flip side of privacy and having everything on your own is the ability that you have to either contribute to the Hal9 GitHub repository or to be able to share pipelines that you build. I think we're really excited about the possibility of seeing what the community who comes into Hal9 starts creating on this platform and seeing where you take the capabilities of, having a pipeline and having your data set and customizing that pipeline to fit whatever your needs happen to be, and then sharing with the community.
Yeah, no, we're obviously super excited, mostly to see what you come up with. We're mostly doing this release to really connect with you. So I'm hoping that you find us on the GitHub repo, or send us, connect with us in Twitter, and why not? We definitely want to hear what you think. What you try out, how it goes. We want to help you grow the community, grow the visualizations, and really just make this more of a community more than anything else.
Yeah. Oh, we actually do have one other question, and that is, what is our current revenue model as Hal9 as we're stepping into our beta?
Yeah, for sure. So so right now, the kind of like the model that we have is you can do a lot of things with Hal9 for free. Actually, most of the stuff that we showcased is definitely free. Like the GME, example that we did, the original one. Like basically, since we are focused on making data and machine learning available on web technologies, most of our functionality is free. However, if you do want to use advanced functionality that requires like a server, in this case, like blocks like to do web scraping or to run Python code, and why not? Then we do have a few different models. So the first one is if you want to use server-side compute, we have a $20 a month plan that enables you to use things like Python, and you can just go there and kind of like have that be part of the plan. If you want something that is a little bit more focused on small businesses, that you want to make sure that your data that you have like your own dedicated environment, it's which obviously increases security, because in those cases you would be using a server-side component, right? So in those cases, we have like a pro subscription. You can talk to us, and we can help you get onboarded there. And there's another kind of like plan that is the enterprise plan that if you really need like not just your own custom environment, protected, secure environment, but if you need custom infrastructure and enterprise support and all those things, just talk to us and we'll figure out something. But yeah, like honestly, I think you can get a lot done with the free plan. So I don't worry too much about that. Like honestly, we just think that hopefully a lot of people in the community are interested in using the functionality, because again, I don't think there's a huge need for using the basic plan unless you're doing advanced pipelines and advanced data analysis. So yeah. All right. Are there any other questions, Austin? Because if not, we can wrap it up kind of on time, even though we started a little bit late.
Yeah, I think we'll be able to start wrapping up now. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of the things that I did want to mention, or maybe you want to mention it, Austin, is that we're posting kind of like about Hal9 everywhere today. So for instance, if you go to Product Hunt or Hacker News, we're definitely. I think someone just we just posted about it, so you can go to new posts, and we have Hal9 there, and so if you want to engage with us, definitely you can post comments there. If you go to Product Hunt, I think it should also be there, even though I'm not an expert on Product Hunt. But yeah, just take a look also at Product Hunt. Like you should be able to find it there. Definitely, we're looking forward to kind of like just engage with you, get feedback. Definitely on Twitter, if you want to, just chat with us. We're definitely looking forward to see what you build, and just get connected in different social media platforms, and why not? All right, there. I think we can cut it then. I mean, definitely go to hal9.com. That's where you want to go. Just try it out. A new pipeline. definitely build some things and let us know in Twitter and why not what you're building. We'd love to like showcase it on the main gallery, and that's pretty much from it. We're really excited to see what you guys build.
Thanks everyone.
All right, I'll see you soon. Bye.